Hi, you guys. Welcome to the Passionpreneur Series. I am your host, Brandy, and I am so excited to be here with you. This has been a labor of love for the past few months, and I'm just really excited to be able to bring to all of you this huge resource of bringing together the world's greatest, most innovative minds to share their tips, their knowledge onto you of how to grow a successful business. And if you're like me and majority of us entrepreneurs out there, anytime we can hear of a great book, podcast, coach, mentor, tool, anything to help us in our day-to-day business, we jump on it. So I'm so excited. I have my guest here today, Liz. Hello, Liz.
Hello, hi.
My goodness, this is our second time talking.
Yes, so we're old friends by now.
Yes, exactly. And I'm really glad that you can make time for this and that you're on this series to help so many people, just those who are getting started, those who have been in business for a while, but to really figure out, in this case, their branding, their personal branding. And so I would love to just jump right in and have you take it away. So, I would love for you to just give some background into who you are and why should we listen to you?
I ask myself that all the time. My name is Liz Feezor, as you mentioned. Thank you so much again for this opportunity, for having me on. I love being able to just talk and share what I know with people. So my name is Liz. I am a copywriter and a creative consultant based in Austin, Texas. I've been in business for just over 2 years now, and I launched my own firm, Liz Feezor Creative, in early 2018 after about a 15-year corporate career, primarily in employee benefits, HR, and SaaS sales consulting. So I did several different things on the corporate side, tried different roles, different industries. I went back to school and got a master's degree. I worked to the bone. I moved out of state multiple times. So I feel like, I've seen some stuff and paid my dues and learned a lot along the way. But alongside my corporate career, I had started a blog back in 2009, and it was a style blog and just like a fun creative outlet to have something that I felt like was mine outside of my corporate career, which felt decidedly not like me at all. So I knew, even back then, I loved being creative. I've always been a writer, even for the periods of time that I put it down and kind of pressed pause on that whole thing. But basically what precipitated such a big career change, going from full-time corporate in a non-creative field to being self-employed in a creative field, was in 2017. I functionally had a breakdown. I physically and mentally it all shut down at once. It was, I think, the stress of a corporate job that was a lot of stress, a lot of pressure, plus a couple of different creative ventures. I had a podcast going, I was doing my blog, and at the time I was engaged and planning a wedding. And so it was like all of this stuff just combined. And like I said, for 10 years before that, I had just been working and working. I'd either been working full-time and going to grad school, or working full-time and having another part-time job, just a lot of stuff going on. And I feel like the stress and anxiety that had just compounded over the years just came to a head. And I went through the worst bout of depression I've ever experienced. And I have just chronic pain issues in my back, and it flared up to the point where I just never experienced such physical pain. It was awful. And those two things just combined made for just a really awful experience that I knew was caused by my lack of fulfillment and just dissatisfaction with what I was doing for work. I knew. It was like, I knew in my mind, but my body told me before my mind could catch up, if that makes any sense. So after several months of planning, I went through that experience in the summer of 2017, made plans. I talked to everybody I knew in this solopreneur, entrepreneurial, creative space here in Austin, which there is a tremendous network of especially creative entrepreneurial women who are very supportive. The community here is just amazing. I tell people all the time, I don't know if I would even try to do what I'm doing if I didn't live in Austin. It's just, it makes it it makes it easier, I'll say that. For a few months I planned, I saved, I just did everything that you can do to be able to launch, and then got married in March of that year. And then I guess I officially launched in early May of 2018, although I was kind of doing some freelance stuff before then. So yeah, it's been about 2 years, and I've learned a lot in these last 2 years, and just am happy to be able to be here doing what I'm doing and sharing with other people now.
That's amazing. Oh my goodness. So it's interesting. Okay, so in 2017, you had your breakdown, essentially.
Yes.
Uh,
Mm-hmm.
and what we're experiencing right now is nowhere near that. But you had a traumatic event happen, and then you had to find a way to kind of get back, and start building your business.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of piggybacking on what is happening right now, what are some things that you are doing in your business right now to keep it going?
It's funny you mention that, because the more I talk to other people who are in the similar space, self-employed, in business for yourself, I feel like the last 2 years have been like a weird training for what we're going through right now. Especially after having gotten used to corporate life for all those years and then making the big jump to self-employment, I had to adjust how I lived in a lot of different ways. Just getting used to doing more with less in terms of resources, being less afraid to try new things, because obviously, being able to hire an expert to do everything that you need is, that's ideal. I would love to be able to hire experts to do everything for what I need.
Exactly.
But, I just don't have the budget to be able to do that. So learning to do things myself and bootstrap things like marketing efforts. I designed my first website. I've since made the investment and, hired a professional to do that part. But it's like, just not being afraid to try things and fail.
Right.
I think that's a lot of entrepreneurship in general, is just putting yourself out there, and you're not going to always make the right move. You can't always insulate yourself from failure, try as you might. And so I feel like this time that we're all going through now, where we really are having to all learn how to do more with less, how to just squeeze the most joy that we can out of little stuff like a drive, like we were talking about earlier, just taking a walk outside and yeah, just getting used to a new lifestyle. For the last 2 years of self-employment, I've worked at home. I occasionally would leave and go to the library to work or go to a coffee shop, but I do all my work with clients over Zoom. The work I do is virtual. So yeah, in a way, it's been an advantage to have learned how to use these tools and learn how to maximize what I know how to do and what I know I can deliver for clients, and find the tools that I can use that to take to more people.
Right.
So yeah, it's funny. Self-employment really does kind of train you for a situation like now, where control has been kind of taken away from us. Everything's closed. People are not in a buying mood right now. And so just learning how to pivot and make the most of what's happening. Yeah, I feel like the last couple of years have been like a weird training exercise for this.
Who knew?
Exactly. We were ahead of the curve.
Exactly. So which social media platforms would you say you use the most for your business?
For me, and this is partially of a function of my corporate past and my blogging past, which are kind of two separate things. I use LinkedIn and I use Instagram. Those are just my two preferred ones, because I had grown a bit of a following on my blog using Instagram. And so I already knew that platform. I knew how to use it, how to leverage it. And so I basically just kind of made minor changes over time to transform that from my blog to this is me. I don't separate my personal from my business. A lot of people I know do that, and it makes a lot of sense. For me, I just don't want to have multiple accounts to worry about. So yeah, I use Instagram a lot. And then LinkedIn, I've used on the corporate side for years and years before, but only within the last couple of years that I've been working on my own have I really started unlocking the tools and the power that it really brings. It's not just for people who are looking for jobs. It's a great lead generation tool. And it's a great way, like we'll talk about, to create and amplify your own personal brand. So those are my social media channels. I know others are big on like Twitter and Facebook. There's, TikTok, there's Snapchat, there's there's a million different things that you can be distracted by, but those are my distractions.
So now, especially right now with everyone being online, whether it's for fun, for work, for looking just to see what their options are. For your business, had you not, how do I want to say this? Do you feel like social media has played a big part in your business?
Definitely.
Like the clients, I mean, all of that as far as growing.
Yes. For me, definitely. And I do think that my past as a blogger and having grown a presence and used these tools prior to me becoming self-employed, just as like a side hustle project, whatever you want to call it, it trained me to be able to use the tools. And I grew a network and grew a following. And I know how to leverage things like hashtags and know when good times to post are, and stories and all the different pieces and parts that go along with it. It's a tool. It's a tool for connection. That just within the last few years, I feel like professionally, it's getting the attention that it deserves, especially with profiles like, platforms like LinkedIn that are strictly professional. But yeah, people like me are using Facebook and Instagram for business, and some people make a tremendous living, just using those platforms or just doing ads on those platforms. And it's incredible. They are really powerful tools. And I definitely have gotten business from them too.
Wow. Okay. Good to know. So what are some tips, some tricks, tools that you want to share with the audience? A lot of the audience right now are going to be, 1 to 2 years into their business. They might just be starting out. It might still be considered a side hustle for them, but they're ready to make that leap.
Yeah. Gosh, it's such a personal thing. Because like I said, I took my existing Instagram, for example, and turned it into my business Instagram. I have, I use it as Instagram for business, but it's my full name that's on there. I don't have a separate personal one. I've made the decision that my personal brand is very much me. And so what I do is help other people tell their stories. And so I feel like the social proof of me doing that on social media platforms, I need to be there doing it. So that's just the choice that I've made. But I would say that now it's a great opportunity. Like you said, bandwidth, and everybody's on social right now. Everyone's at home, everyone's online connecting. And so being able to connect with each other virtually is the only option we have now. So spending some time really thinking about what your message is and thinking about the why or the purpose behind what you're doing is. It's the old, Simon Sinek, Start With Why. That book came out like 10 years ago, but it's still very relevant because it is what people ultimately want to know. People don't care what you're selling or how you do it. They care why you do. They want to hear that passion behind what you do and the reasoning behind why you're in business and why you're helping people doing what you're doing. So the better that you can get at honing your own message and becoming more confident in sharing the why behind what you do. For me, like I told you, I had a breakdown and I was forced to make a career change because what I was doing just wasn't working for me anymore. It was not healthy. And so my why is I never want anybody to go through that experience that I went through. So I help other people tell their professional stories and basically create their own personal brands for their professional worlds. So that's my why. And I think getting better and getting more serious about knowing what to say when somebody asks you, well, why this? Why jump ship and do your own thing now, in the middle of a downturn? Why now? So yeah, just being more confident in honing your message and knowing the reasons why and being willing to share that, I think is really invaluable.
Do you think you can share too much?
Yes. I mean, it's so different for everybody. And I talk about this when I, back when we could still gather in groups and I could still speak in front of audiences of people. It's so personal. It really is. I'm a big Brene Brown fan. I love her research and her books. It's just, I know I'm not the only one. I say Brene Brown in front of a group of people and I'll be able to go, everybody loves her. And I do too, because she talks about how being vulnerable truly is a superpower. We're looking for vulnerability and authenticity in the people that we do business with, and moreover, in the brands that we want to invest in. Pretense is over. The veil is lifted. People want to know where their dollars are going when they're paying for something. And I think as the workforce gets younger and younger, as younger generations join the workforce, that's only amplified. People want to know the reasons behind things. They want to know the leaders of the companies that they're working for. So yeah, a friend of a friend described this time as the death of pretense. And I really love that, because it's like the masks are coming off. People are not going to be willing to put up with deceit and fake marketing messages. People want vulnerability and authenticity. And so I think finding your comfort zone with where the boundary is between, how much of who you are and your personal life you want to share, get comfortable with that, and just making sure you know that boundary for yourself, and not ever feeling like you are being forced to share something. Like that's, don't make yourself uncomfortable. But I would say the more honestly you're sharing, people will pick up on that. People know when they're being fed a line of BS, and when somebody's being authentic and real and vulnerable with them. And so finding what that boundary is for yourself and being willing to share in a way that doesn't cross that boundary, I think is really important for everybody. And it's different for everybody.
Cool. Yeah, a good friend of mine recently told me, she was, we were just talking about, like, there's so many photographers out there. There's so many dance teachers. There's so many fitness instructors, and they're now all going online, doing their classes, that sort of thing. Like, how can I stand out? How am I going to be any different? And she said, I realized that and in this case, she's a photographer. My photos may not be the best. There's always going to be someone better than me with a better package, better equipment, better this, better that. But the one thing that other person can't compete with is my personality, is me. Mm-hmm. And so if I can make my audience, my customer, my ideal customer fall in love with me, then nothing else matters.
That's absolutely true. And that's 100% accurate. I mean, it's very easy to fall down the comparison trap, especially on social media, and especially when there are so many people in your space. I'm a writer. There's tons of writers out there. Mm-hmm. But what I feel like I'm doing differently is leveraging the experience that I have. Not every writer has 15 years of HR experience and had to have a breakdown to get to where she is now. But I feel like, being truthful about that and sharing. It's funny that when I started, I was originally very guarded about the reasons why I switched my career. But the more I shared about, what happened, and hey, my body made me aware that the choices I was making for work, for everything else, just weren't going to work anymore. And the more I shared that, the more people were like, oh, that sort of happened to me, or I could see that happening to me if I continue along this path that I'm on. Right. So your story is your story, and nobody else. Like, I do a lot of LinkedIn bios and professional bios for people. Two people with the same amount of experience, with the same title, never came about that in the same way. It's fascinating. Like, no two stories are ever alike. So the better that you can know and share and leverage your own story and who you actually are, that's your competitive advantage. Totally.
Quick question about LinkedIn. I was just curious.
Yeah.
So the conversation on LinkedIn is drastically different than, say, Instagram or Facebook, or about the same?
It's funny because there is a cross section between them. It's funny because my own Instagram audience, when I look at analytics, it's a lot of like 18 to 44-year-old, 70% women. That's my own Instagram audience, located in certain geographies, a lot in Austin, some in California, some in New York. But when I looked at my LinkedIn audience, there is a little bit of overlap, but the Venn diagram intersects at like a really tiny sliver in the middle of the same people, because a lot of my LinkedIn audience is my corporate past. It's people that I was connected with, from a job 2, 3, 4 jobs ago, who are still following me and who were still connected. LinkedIn, the demographics are a little bit older, and it's a lot of the people who are established in their career. So the demographics for who's on each platform is different, but I share some of the same stuff, just in a different way. Okay. Yeah. So I know my LinkedIn audience is different and I'll use maybe a little bit different language with that audience versus Instagram. I'm a little bit more personal. I might swear on Instagram and not on LinkedIn. Just, that's my personal brand. I'm not excessive about it, but some people do. And some people I see swear on LinkedIn, and that's their personal brand and it works for them. And they have tons of followers. It's fascinating. It's really a good time to spend time connecting with people that you're already connected with and engaging with people, especially on LinkedIn, because we're all working from home right now and everybody's toggling over to their social media, checking on LinkedIn, looking at jobs, looking at what people are saying. And so, yeah, I feel like there's never been an easier time to do that, to hone your message and really refine your personal brand, whatever that looks like for you, and share. Yeah.
So then it's not just about posting a pretty picture, a caption, and then signing off.
That's the thing. And that's what I feel like a lot of people believe social media success is all about, is having this tremendous profile, having a ton of followers, and then like posting every once in a while and just ghosting. But social media doesn't work that way. You have to spend time engaging with people for the platform to quote unquote see you as relevant and as somebody who's worth following. So if you're not only sharing content, but engaging with other people as they engage with your content, and then engage with other people's content. So going and searching on hashtags and locations, and like on LinkedIn, if you see an article posted and comment, your thoughts about reading it, that's the key to becoming more visible, especially on LinkedIn.
Gotcha.
Yeah, you can't just have a killer profile. You have to engage.
And number counts don't matter at the end of the
No,
day, right?
no, not at all. I see people on LinkedIn all the time who seem to be having a contest with each other for how many connections they can get. And while it's great to have a really wide network of 20,000 people, it's like, well, what are the chances you know each of those people? And what are the chances that a lot of those people are even in a space that makes sense for you to be in? Like it's the quality of your network that matters, and it's how engaged they are. That's ultimately what matters.
Okay, so my new entrepreneurs out there, let's say 3 tips would you give them to get started today with doing this?
Oh, on any social or a specific one?
Well, let's take Instagram and LinkedIn. I mean,
Okay.
to me, they're so different,
They're different, but the principles I think can be pretty similar. So finding visuals for your profile that work for you. So Instagram, it's kind of less important for at least your profile photo because you can change it fairly often. You can change it in LinkedIn too, but especially for LinkedIn, having a headshot where you're looking at the camera, it's clear, you're smiling, like you're making eye contact, and you're the only person in the frame, and you don't have like an alcoholic beverage in your hand, which you'd be surprised. I see people all the time with like vacation photos in LinkedIn. I'm like, it's great that you can cut loose, but like there's a time and place for everything. So just having a nice, and the photo that I have on my LinkedIn profile right now was taken with a ring light and a cell phone. So it's like, you don't need professional headshots. Having that is wonderful, but just presenting yourself visually in a way that reflects your personal professional brand, especially on LinkedIn, is really important. The background photo on LinkedIn, that's more important than you would think it is. Just having something that's not that blue Sputnik, like the filler background that's there. Having something else is key. Like even if it's like a logo or something for your business. Ideally, it's a picture of you in action, like a nice high-res photo of you teaching or speaking, something where people can envision you stepping in and working with them. That's the best way to kind of insert yourself into their story, which is basically what social media is all about, is including each other in our stories. So spending some time really thinking about how to maximize the space that's available with an Instagram profile and a LinkedIn headline. Because with LinkedIn, you have 120 characters in a headline, which is not a whole lot. It's basically like a sentence.
Right.
So spending some time really refining the keywords and phrases that you want to be known for in search, and knowing how to maximize that, especially in a LinkedIn headline, is great. It's less important with Instagram rather, because it's a little bit more loose. It's a little bit more fun. And again, it just depends. If you have a separate brand Instagram than your personal Instagram, I feel like the distinction can be a little bit more clear there. But taking a look at some of the profiles that you like, and what are they doing? Is it formatted a certain way? Are they using emojis in a really creative way that's not super juvenile seeming? Because I've seen it go both ways. I like emojis and I use them pretty sparingly, just as like punctuation almost to like add to the text. But I'm sure you've seen it. You can also be it can be overkill.
It can go too far.
Yeah. So finding where that is for you. And everybody's personal brand is going to look very different, but making sure that it's you and not you copying somebody else that you like is very key, because I know that's a slippery slope. It's easy to want to be somebody else, especially right now, but we're all stuck in this together.
Yourself, speak your own voice, speak your truth.
Yes. Oh, yes.
Well, I know you have an amazing offer for our viewers to help them get started. Do you want to share?
Yeah. Yes. So I, as a solopreneur, small business owner, whatever you want to call it, I'm in the same boat as a lot of other small businesses where, right now this downturn is causing a slump, frankly, in business. People are a little bit scared to make investments in themselves and their businesses. And so business is down. At the same time, I know that what I provide, which is ghostwriting people's personal brands and professional stories on LinkedIn and for long form bios and things like that, it's a needed service. Especially for people who've recently been laid off. These could be people that maybe have not job searched or interviewed in years. And so revisiting something like your LinkedIn profile and learning how to leverage that as a really powerful tool for connecting with people, for amplifying your professional brand, and for landing a new job, it's huge. I know how valuable that is. So as of, I think a week, maybe 2 weeks ago, my sense of time is all messed up right now, but I just recently announced that I'm going sliding scale for my LinkedIn profile service. It's called the Headshot, which is on my services page at lizfeezor.com, and also for hourly consulting. So if you have a creative project or a writing project that you're working on that you just want somebody objective to connect, just like we're doing here now on Zoom, I get a lot of clients who are applying for something, either schools, an award, something like that, and need a wordsmith and somebody who's objective on their story to help them out. I'm offering that and my LinkedIn service on a sliding scale basis for people who've recently been laid off. So, would love to work with people who, because I know how valuable it can be to just have somebody in your corner and on your team and encouraging you along, which is honestly half of what I do, is just encourage people. I'm here.
All right, Liz, so how can we stay connected to you?
Yes, I am on Instagram at @LizFeezor. LinkedIn, I am the only Liz Feezor, I'm pretty sure. And I look like me in my headshot. It's a black and white headshot of this face. So I'm pretty easy to find. And then on my website at lizfeezor.com.
Awesome. Any last takeaways?
Oh my gosh.
Have so many amazing quotes from you already.
Oh gosh.
I don't know what else you can add to. I've been writing like crazy this whole time, but if there's anything else you want to add.
I feel like now it's a really strange time for everyone. And it's very difficult just not knowing what's happening from one day to the next. It's very hard to feel out of control, honestly. Like the control has been taken away from us, where we can't go places now. We can't see people. Business is down. People are losing their jobs and getting sick. It's suboptimal, to say the least. But one thing that we can control is our own personal brand. That is one thing that is still well within our control, and we can control the words and the vibe that we put out there on social media, on the words that we share with people. That's what we can own. So yeah, don't forget that.
Well, thank you so much. This was really good.
Good. Thank you so much for having me.
Of course. And I definitely want to do more with you in the future.
Yes. Yes. Love a good collaboration.
Oh, yes. Well, thank you Thank you so much. All of this will be up in the email to follow. So if you missed any part of this, you can always replay it. You can also check out the email, and there'll be links directly to Liz, her offer, and I'll even drop in there some of her other tips she didn't mention, favorite books, podcasts, mentors, things like that. So thank you guys for tuning in. We have so much more to come and to give you, and we look forward to connecting with you. Thank you, Liz, again. Have a
Thank you.
wonderful time. Stay healthy and safe in Austin.
Thank you. You too. Take care.
We'll see you later, you guys.